Hi, my name is Galen Harrill, author of the devotional work Luke for You, based on the Gospel of Luke and available at Amazon. Over the course of 3 videos, I would like to read excerpts from my book to give you a feel for what Luke for You is all about. I wrote it hoping it would give people a better understanding of Luke's Gospel, and I read these excerpts hoping you will be encouraged and blessed. From the introduction, Luke for You. I can think of several reasons why you might question such a name, mainly because it is not so much a title as it is a claim. A little presumptuous? Maybe. But I'm more concerned with Luke's take on it. Clearly, the universal nature of the gospel message is a major theme running through Luke's work. No one is excluded from the good news about Jesus, and perhaps nothing proves this more than how Luke's book inspires faith 2,000 years after its writing. So maybe it's really not a problem. Why not Luke for You? Well, because I've often wondered what Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John would think to know that the books they wrote actually have their names attached to them. Sure, I know why it happened and how it happened, but seeing it in print today might initially be shocking for all 4 of them. And going into a bookstore and seeing the hundreds of titles highlighting their names might seriously disturb them, because he didn't write Luke as Luke or Matthew, Mark, or John for you. It was never meant to be Luke for you. None of these writers wrote to bring attention to themselves. Their sole desire was to bring attention to Jesus. And so, really, Luke would want us to see that it's all about Jesus. Jesus for you. Put the emphasis right where it belongs. The for you stays, just so long as we understand who the story is about. So in Luke's telling, we see Jesus interacting without boundaries with everyone he met. No one could offend him so much that he would ignore them. No one could be such a sinner that Jesus would write them off. No one could be so dirty and diseased that Jesus would shrink back from them. Jesus met everyone where they were and did so with no regard for himself or the opinions of anyone else. Ultimately, not even personal safety kept him from reaching out. That's what the crucifixion was, a reach to save everyone, even those crucifying him. This is such an important point because so many people live their lives thinking Jesus could not possibly be for them. How could he possibly care? No, there's been too much wandering on the wrong path for too many years. Nobody could forgive so many years of sin. These folks live with regret and immobilizing guilt. They believe they've wounded Jesus too deeply. Yet Luke's gospel is a megaphone to all these people, waking them from their own funk. Maybe this is you, and if so, you've got to understand this clearly. Not only is the invitation open, Jesus longs for you to come. He doesn't offer half-heartedly, and you won't be crashing the party because the party is for you. Others live thinking they don't need Jesus. A quick look at statistics show most people today believe they themselves are good people and believe that is enough to get them a spot in heaven. It's totally uncomfortable to place themselves on the other side of goodness. Luke speaks to these folks with Jesus' open charge that no one is good except God alone. This runs so counter to what so many believe that people are offended, but no more than they were 2,000 plus years ago listening to Jesus actually say it. And maybe this is you. Luke pronounces no judgment, only the invitation to hear and accept. And at some point, we are all likely to find ourselves in both these camps. Luke shows even the disciples were. Still, Jesus calls. It does not matter what our status is, it only matters that we act, all of us. And so Jesus is for you. But the title is Luke for You, and I think Luke would forgive me because it's my hope this little book will make Luke accessible to a wide range of people. It's conversational in tone because that's where we live. We do our best thinking when we are thinking together in meaningful conversation. Good books are not only jumping off points for human interaction, but are actually an interaction in themselves. So I've written Luke for You with this in mind, hoping to spur everyone to think about Luke's message, to consider the words and come out on the other side the better for the consideration. I won't tell you how to read this book, but maybe you would like to know what I intended. I tell stories and illustrate. You'll find these here in plenty, and I hope you will enjoy them as much as I enjoyed writing them. But this is an open invitation to think of your own stories, of your own life, and how Luke connects with you. Luke serves up eternal truth. How you live that truth serves to enlighten and enrich all of us. Your experiences become the collective experience of all God's people. In some places, I quote directly from Luke. In others, I assume we know the story or can look it up. That is why I have chapters and verses under each chapter title. You may choose to have your Bible open and look back and forth from what I've written to what Luke has written. The dialogue might be smoother that way, and again, I think books are conversation. You'll find I have chosen not to speak with every verse of every chapter or even every section in Luke. This is not a verse-by-verse study. I find those studies helpful for certain things, much like diagramming sentences was helpful in learning grammar and the structure of language. But if we did that all the time, nothing would get said. My main prayer? I think it is the same as that of Luke, that you will be blessed in the reading and come to know Jesus better. Enjoy.